Hey Ross, sauce it up.
All they ever wanted to do was party, hoeing themselves out. You hang out in shitty places with shitty people. But no, not because they like the attention. Call right now. I said hang up the fucking.
I won't never change. Rubbing off the paint, smoking dank. Got a Uzi in my lap, I let it bang. Free Latte, no he keep a cake, but he not taking.
You guys don't need me to tell you, but the dating scene is absolutely horrible right now. I think the worst part about it is that we can't get advice from our parents, because dating is by no means what it used to be. Think about it. Back in the day, your mom would have been mortified about her nudes floating around the internet. But nowadays, she's likely charging $3.99 for them. And back in the day, girls will go out on dates and wouldn't have these crazy-ass expectations. But now, Cheesecake Factory is beneath them. Dating is getting so bad, and guys are getting so desperate because dating is so bad, they end up staying in relationships that they have no business being in. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of help, and help you spot some of those red flags, as well as tell you if they're a hoe or have the potential to be a hoe. Number 1, the spiritual girl. Now some of you guys are probably thinking, what's wrong with being spiritual? And that's because you guys are equating spirituality to religion. But trust me, they are not the same fucking thing. I was with a spiritual girl before. Well, actually, more specifically, about 3 of them. Yeah, I know. I dated this horrible giant walking red flag 3 times. And all of their traits were basically the same. All they ever wanted to do was party, and everything was always about their needs. A spiritual girl usually comes from a past of either hoeing themselves out to most guys, or is currently still hoeing themselves out. Their quote-unquote spirituality is only because of the fact that they don't want to be held accountable by a higher power such as God, their parents, or rational friends that care about their well-being. It's a lot easier to do whatever you want with no one judging you if you hang out in shitty places with shitty people. And if you inflate the value and legitimacy of your own needs so much, then guess what? You become your own God. And what happens then? Your values become your God's values. And that's not how worshiping God works. Meaning suddenly, your God does condone a copious amount of f***s. And he does want you to do drugs in the middle of the forest with 6 strangers you barely know. Numbers don't lie. Why do you think there's a high amount of girls that are starting to use OnlyFans more and more, and there's also a rise in the amount of spiritual girls that you see?
You're saying that God put you in the position to do content with other women and with other men. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you guys wonder how that happened? I don't know. They're usually dressed like whores, but no, not because they like the attention. No. It's because their God really wanted them to show extra skin that day. It becomes exceedingly difficult to be with this person because when they aren't dragging you to parties, or if you aren't, they usually have these big ass dreams that they're constantly manifesting, but no idea how to execute them. Eventually, they'll blame you for being the reason that their fantasy isn't a reality, and they'll probably break up with you. And they'll go find another guy who was a simp enough to willingly agree with their fantasy world, and the cycle will continue. So I'm warning you, for your own safety, if a girl asks you what your spirit animal is, punch her in the throat and run away. We're gonna label this one under the category. Do you really need me to explain more? Next up, we have the Crybaby. Arguably not as bad as the spiritual girl, but still pretty damn bad. This girl uses her big emotions to try and control you because honestly, for centuries, a woman crying in front of a man kinda makes him feel obligated to do whatever it is she's asking of him. I'll give you a prime example. Went out with some friends, met this girl, yada yada yada, you already know how that goes. Eventually, some time passes and it's just me and her doing what 2 older people do when they hang out. But before and after we even proceeded with doing that, I said, I'm not looking for a relationship because I just got out of one, and if she expects a relationship from me, then we should not continue. This woman looked me straight in my face and told me she understood. Fast forward a few days and she's over my house crying because she found a long hair on my couch.
Like, I know you said we aren't official, but do you really have other girls over here?
What?
Is this just a joke to you?
Bruh, I told you we aren't together, so even if I were seeing other girls, which I'm not, why are you crying about it?
You know what? You're nothing but a fucking
Shorty gets up, runs away crying. Don't do what I did because like an idiot, I called her up and she was still crying, and that's where I made her my girlfriend. But that night set the tone for our entire relationship because after that night, she had a lot of demands. And just like that one time that I folded, anytime she wanted something unreasonable from me, I would say no and she would cry until the bitch just got what she wanted. And what sucks now is every girl that I've ever dated afterwards, when they cry, I don't feel a damn thing. In fact, I've started laughing at females when they cry in front of me. But that one low-key deserves its own video. Every day with the Crybaby is an emotional roller coaster that ends with her ignoring you for 2 hours or you just feeling like an asshole. We're gonna categorize this one as not a but still avoid her at all costs. Alright, next girl. And this one is my personal favorite, not gonna lie. The SJW Twitter girl. She thinks all men are the devil, and this girl will always think that you're the lucky one for having been able to pull her. And if you don't agree with whatever political agenda she chose to side with that day, then she's probably gonna threaten to break up with you. I've never dated this girl, but many of my friends have. One day me and my friends were chilling on Discord. It was mostly guys in the VC, probably about like 6 of us, but one of my friends had his girlfriend right next to him. We were all having a pretty decent time, and out of nowhere, she says, unwarranted, in a VC full of dudes, "Every man is just a pig. Realistically, we don't need them in society." She says this, and the VC just goes completely quiet, right? But me, I'm a little bit too opinionated to support someone's delusions just because they think they're pretty. So I start debating her, and the whole time, my dude is looking straight at the camera, mouthing the words, begging for me to stop. Long story short, she lost, which is what you can expect when you're debating against someone who acts like a fucking child. But my friend made the mistake of agreeing with one thing that I said, because it took so much as him just simply nodding his head in agreement, and she instantly shifted her anger towards him. Are you fucking serious right now? You're gonna agree with what he just said? Yeah, sorry babe. He used actual facts and— Hang up the call right now! I said hang up the fucking— Everybody said in VC just incredibly shocked. And this is why I love debating a Twitter feminist. They'll always hop in saying some offensive and over-the-top shit, but they come with little to absolutely no evidence. And when you call them out, they short-circuit and literally break. And I would never date them because me seeing the way my friends become spineless whenever they're around is kinda sad. Because he has opinions when she isn't there, but when she is there, he doesn't want to give them. Basically navigating your own partner's opinions as if they're a ticking time bomb. Anytime I've seen somebody date this kind of girl, shit always ends up bad because she doesn't respect who you are, what you are, or your opinions. And at its core, a man desires to be respected. So he eventually crashes out, and as a result, you'll want to spend less and less time with them. And when you don't spend time on a relationship, you end up killing it. This girl is usually not a but you know, if her favorite feminist tells her that that's empowering, then she probably will be. Type number 4. The honeymoon girl. The honeymoon phase of a relationship can be a wonderful thing. You and this other person just found this relationship and you want to keep contributing to it so that you can strengthen it, right? Like, on paper, it sounds like a pretty cool thing. I don't know, man, but like after 6 months, that shit gets so boring. Like, only because I have to find time for other shit, like making money, finding time to enjoy my hobbies, or just living my fucking life. But sadly enough, this is asking for too much from some people. Because you go one good week without taking them to the mall or going on romantic walks on the beach, and they freak the fuck out. Which to me is unrealistic because, like, if you think about it, you like going to nice places, right? But if I'm never working because you can't stomach the thought of being away from me for 6 hours, then where the f do you expect the money to come from for date night? Because last time I checked, the government doesn't pay me to be in love with you. A lot of people may not know if you perpetually spend all of your time in the honeymoon phase of a relationship. So here's one way you can tell. If you saying goodbye to someone takes more than 7 seconds, you're stuck in a honeymoon phase. I'll give you a prime example. Alright, see you in a bit. I gotta go to work.
Alright, I guess I'll just be here until you're done.
Cool.
What time did you say you'd be off again?
Well, like I said earlier, I'll be off by 11:30.
Did we have plans to do something after work?
It's a night shift, so I'll probably just want to sleep.
Okay, well I guess I'll just hang around until you decide you want to hang out.
Cool. See you later.
Well, let me know if you want me to pick you up from work after your shift.
Not really, because I'm gonna bring my own car, so...
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I love you.
Love you too.
Make sure while you're out you don't forget to...
Call me a little bit cold if you want to, but it's a big sign of insecurities that will present themselves or already have. Separation anxiety in a relationship is not something you want to deal with, trust me. You leaving the honeymoon phase in a relationship will make them think that they're doing something wrong or you're doing something wrong, and they will lose their shit trying to piece together which one it is. I've had girls invite themselves over to my space while I'm working and swear up and down that they just want to be next to me while I work. But in the middle of me drawing, it's a constant 2 hours of them forcing me to look at their TikToks or asking me when I'll be done working. They'll later get upset and say that I spend most of our relationship ignoring them, but I personally think when I set time aside for just you, then that time is just for you. On the other hand, when you invite yourself to be in my face when I didn't set that time aside for you, I don't have the obligation obligation to be kissing on you or watching your unfunny TikTok feed. There's a fine line between making the decision to be with someone and forcing yourself to fit into every aspect of someone else's life. If that sentence in itself doesn't sound fair to you, then you're going to struggle a lot with love. Is she a 100%? Some of you might ask why. And that's because if you can only exist in a relationship during the honeymoon phase, you will consistently get into relationships and then break them off the second you're not feeling the honeymoon phase. Because by your standards, no one else is good enough for you. And the second a problem in a relationship presents itself, you're on to the next one. You are the next type of girl, the glow-up girl. She was ugly as a kid and maybe well into her teenage years, but could never quite figure out why until boom! Almost overnight her genetics kicked in. She's got some big old tatas now, and now she's a bad bitch. The tricky thing about this one is that she doesn't have tendencies, but she can still be one. She's not used to being able to flutter her eyelids to get what she wants out of someone. She's usually a very persistent person who is not afraid of hard work, sports, or carrying her own purse. She is very giving and will usually bank on her personality and kindness to get her what she wants, and will almost never result to her looks. I've dated 2 glow-up girls so far, and while the first one would lean into her newfound beauty, you could still have a decent conversation with her. But every now and then, mid-conversation, she would just like randomly say some shit. One day, me and her were talking on the phone. My relationship with her had recently become long distance because her and her family moved to the other side of the US. I made a whole video on it, but I deleted it recently because she asked me to. Only the real OG members have seen this video because this is one of my first and best. But anyway, we would call every single night. And what sucks about a long distance relationship is you can only know what somebody wants you to know. So you spend a lot of time just wondering if this person is lying to you about their day-to-day. You know, like I'm in Florida and she's in California. I really only know what she calls me and tells me about. You know what makes it hard? When I look on her Instagram, she would post some pictures with some friends she had made since she was down there, and she dressed pretty modestly at first. But slowly, as she posted more and more, she would wear less and less and less and less. So of course, anytime we were on the phone, I would have my doubts about the legitimacy of what she was telling me. But of course, it would all become clear when she said to me, "I think I want to get a tramp stamp." What? All of my friends are getting one, and I think it would be a really good idea. Dude, you're so much better than that. What the hell are you talking about? She spent the next half hour on the phone with me, trying to convince me that a tramp stamp wasn't for tramps. Bruh, it's literally in the fucking name. How deluded can you be? Yo, partake in behavior, but don't ever sit there and try and justify it to me. I will never empathize with that. Anyone who knows me personally can tell you that it's not gonna go over well for you. The next time she came to see me, we broke up. And it hurt for a while, but honestly, I am so damn glad it happened. And that's also one of the reasons I decided to delete the video that she was in, because I gave her way too much credit as being the most special girl when realistically, she came with a lot of problems. Now that doesn't mean that all or even most glow-up girls are they just have more potential, which makes sense because you have this newfound aspect of yourself that you want to test out for the next 30 to 40 years before it just goes away and you wrinkle into like a fucking old person. But how good you look should not be something for everybody to exploit, especially if they aren't your partner. We're gonna label this one under even though, like I said before, not most glow-up girls are Next girl we have is the I'm mean girl. Now this girl has no inherent personality, so people just credit her as being the lovable asshole. And it's supposed to be endearing, when in actuality, they all just want to convince themselves that she's joking around and doesn't actually hate them. Everyone will tell you that you don't want to make this girl angry, or they're somehow scary when they're angry, but realistically, they just talk loudly and throw insults. If they hit you, they don't necessarily expect to be hit back, because the world has just kind of seen them as this subset of human, outside of toddlers that need to be cared for, instead of taught things like respect and morals. Usually when you're dating someone and they introduce you to their friends, you'll be bombarded with comments like, "If you hurt my friend in any way, I will destroy you, and I'll hurt you even worse." And the first few times I put up with it with a smile on my face, but after a while my reply was, "What are you actually gonna do about it? You gonna try and fight me? Do you see yourself actually being able to physically do anything beyond just empty threats?" The words of a child. You're so and you don't even know it, do you? I get deep and dark really fast. I mean, I take Mean Girls very seriously because I think if you grow up being taught that you can just threaten people and disrespect people and they're just gonna sit there and take it, and you're just so small and cute that no one is ever supposed to tell you to calm your ass down and take a fucking seat, you're bound to get in trouble. Because guess what? In some parts of the world, they won't tolerate it and you will find yourself hospitalized immediately. I never dated this girl personally, but my friends have, and they tend to not let me be in the same room as her because they know I do not support delusions. We're gonna label this one as not a but that's mainly because people have to actually like you in the first place for you to be a and this person is just way too unapproachable. And again, I am by no means a relationship expert, but it doesn't take magical eyes to see a failing one. You gotta know when to hop out, you gotta know when to stay and work things out, and you gotta know when you're the problem. Moral of the video: dating is awful and relationships are fun.